for Congress to pass a spending bill. And a deal on Daca remains a key sticking point.
Everybody should be thanking him, trying to get to the bottom of this.
Representatives from North and South Korea have agreed to meet for follow-up talks on next month's Winter Olympics.
Sorry. Sorry, America. We're still chewing over here. But
yeah.
We're very...
Pete is in on his all-American cheeseburger over there.
We talked about French baguettes, so of course cheeseburgers are American, so I had to... It's kind of a diva request, but I had our green room producer reheat this McDonald's cheeseburger for me, which I've been consuming happily.
It is remarkable.
It's really good on a Sunday.
It is remarkable that you have now admitted to at least one diva request, because there are multiple every morning, and you just got caught on this one.
Yes, that's true. That's okay. Today is also Minnesota Vikings road to the Super Bowl day. In case we trust, Case Keenum, our backup quarterback turned superhero. No kneelers or fisters raising a fist for the Vikings, so we're hopeful that America's team can do it today at 4:40 on Fox.
Didn't we learn a long time ago that hope isn't a policy?
It is in Minnesota.
Okay. All right.
This year. So thanks for joining us. It's been awesome to have Leland and Rachel on the couch.
Thanks for having me.
Even if hope doesn't work, I've got solidarity, pink handkerchief, purple handkerchief here.
Well, that was nice of him.
Yeah. Super nice.
All right. The president is talking about a lot more important things than we are this morning, actually. He just tweeted out this morning, Daca is probably dead because the Democrats don't really want it. They just want to take desperately needed money away from our military. I, as president, want people coming into our country who are going to help us become strong and great again. People coming in through a system based on merit. No more lotteries. Hashtag America First. We've been talking about this really all morning, that the Democrats seem to be pushing towards trying to kill any kind of deal. Nancy Pelosi saying wants a clean bill on Daca, and clearly not coming to the negotiating table.
And I think it's very telling because at the beginning of the week, there was an incredible meeting that was televised for 55 minutes. And in that meeting was the first time, I mean, I'm somebody who's been wanting immigration reform. I personally want a solution for the Dreamers and the Daca recipients. That was the first time I really felt like there was going to be a permanent solution for them, that we were going to solve the problem for them, give them perhaps a 5-year pathway to citizenship. But the president said, listen, I have a compassionate heart. I want to help these kids. Here's what I need from you, Democrats. I need money for my wall. I need to end the chain lottery system, and we have to end chain migration and the lottery system.
Absolutely.
That's what he said. And then let's fast forward to the end of the week on Thursday when there was a meeting.
There was a meeting. Of course, comments were made that the so-called mainstream media hyperventilated about what the president said. And we had a staffer come out from Dick Durbin's office and say, well, it was a trap. It was a trap to get us with the hardcore immigration folks to agree to something. What Democrats are doing right now is distracting away from a fact that they don't want a deal at all.
I don't think they do.
And this president's position has been very, very consistent. So at this point, what you see on his Twitter feed is a frustration of the reality that Democrats have never been good faith partners here. No. They're invested in the resistance of him. They thought they might get a weak deal. But if there's anything this president is going to be strong on, it's that core campaign promise he's been running on since the day he came down that escalator.
And Pete,
why do you think it's going to change?
And they're invested as well in keeping this issue alive I think for electoral reasons with Hispanics. Some people say they want to keep the border open in order to import new voters. I really think that what they want to do is keep the issue open so they can club Republicans, say they're racist, racialize, which is what they did at the end of the week in this meeting, racialize the immigration issue, keep it alive, never solve it.
It's a big mistake for Democrats to think they're going to win this standoff.
We almost had a deal.
We're going to get sort of an inside look at sort of how the White House is gaming this out. Coming up in a couple of minutes, next segment, we're going to have on the Deputy White House Press Secretary, Principal Deputy White House Press Secretary. We'll ask them all about that, ask about the president's tweets, sort of what they think about that Durban meeting.
Of course.
As well, yesterday morning, folks in Hawaii woke up to what you really would call panic if this happened. This is a lot better morning for folks in Hawaii. You can see folks running. There was one of those emergency alert things that goes out to every phone that's signed on to the cellular network. 1.3 million people in Hawaii got this alert saying the following: ballistic missile threat inbound to Hawaii, seek immediate shelter. And then the key words: this is not a drill. And as we have been telling you all along, this wasn't really fake news as it was mistake news, or as Dan Bongino called it, the equivalent of a emergency message by butt dial. Some guy hit the wrong button, and this is what happened.
Yeah. But the perception of a crisis like this should sharpen the mind, should bring a serious thought about how we should react and what our policies are in North Korea. Instead, you see the left running to the microphones or television screens to blame one man. You guessed it. Let's roll tape.
Our leaders have failed us. Donald Trump is taking too long. He's not taking this threat seriously, and there's no time to waste. We've got to get rid of this nuclear threat from North Korea. We've got to achieve peace, not play politics, but achieve peace, because this is literally life and death that is at stake for the people of Hawaii and the people of this country.
It's frustrating because Tulsi Gabbard knows better. She's an Iraq War veteran. She is very liberal. But to use 5 words into your statement, blame it on President Trump, if you really understand the policy of North Korea and how we got here, he inherited a mess that he's been trying to take on seriously. To just yell about peace and then blame Trump, it's disingenuous.
The other thing is, she is the congresswoman from Hawaii. Okay, this was a state-run emergency messaging system. Okay,
good point.
Maybe she should sit there and say, hey, we'll deal with the issue of North Korea in a few days. In the meantime, we need some federal dollars. Maybe FEMA could come in and help my state so my citizens, the people I represent, are going to be protected.
In the meantime,
and we'll know if
maybe I should look in it.
Right.
You know?
Right. Well, I mean, whether you like the president or not, nobody can deny since day one, he has made North Korea his #1 issue. I heard more about North Korea in the first year of the Trump presidency than I heard in 8 years of Obama's presidency. And, you know, my husband just talked to some people that were in Hawaii at the Disney Hotel, said that there were no leadership from the staff at the hotel, that people were running wild. He was trying to help people. But he said he talked to so many of the people that were in the hotel, many of them liberals, and he said, wow, after this, everyone's a conservative on North Korea in this hotel, which it will show you what something like this, a scary situation like this, can really sharpen people's focus on North Korea.
Another place that's on the West Coast and could be affected is Hollywood, but that didn't change the way they reacted to this. Jim Carrey and Jamie Lee Curtis taking to Twitter to slam President Trump. Well, Dan Bongino was on our program earlier and pointed out how Hollywood reacted. Take a listen.
Let me get this straight. This is Trump's fault? Now, there are only 2 explanations, and only 2, okay? #1 for Hollywood. Either they are really this stupid and they believe that Trump had something to do with this, or secondly, they're lying because they have TDS, Trump derangement syndrome, to manipulate people and just destroying their business model even further from, you know, large swath of Americans who will never see their movies because of stupid comments like this.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. There's no need for it, and I don't really care what Ace Ventura, Pet Detective, thinks about it.
He said he was in Hawaii. Maybe he was not staying at the same Disney resort. Something that we look forward sort of to the next week. Obviously, we're going to talk to the White House about the Daca situation. There's sort of an inflection point on Friday. We heard from Sarah Carter earlier that we're expected to get a lot of big news as it relates to Uranium One. There is 2 stories here. There is the Hillary Clinton involvement in the sale of Uranium One, and then there is the issue of this investigation into bribery in terms of moving around nuclear material that was in the United States that belonged to the Russians. And there was a whistleblower that came forward to the FBI, worked with the FBI, and that's what's led to this indictment. Very soon now, we are going to hear from this whistleblower who was under a non-disclosure agreement. And there is the potential that this whistleblower can connect the dots, if you will, from this bribery scandal involving moving uranium all the way out to the Clinton Foundation and the purchase of Uranium One by the Russians. Bombshell possibility.
And the speech that Bill Clinton gave for $500 million.
Right. $500,000.
Yeah, $500,000.
That'd be a heck of a speech. In addition to this, then you also have what Devin Nunes has said. He's heard behind closed doors about FISA warrants and unmasking of people. So we had Sarah Carter on earlier in the program who talked about Uranium One, but also talked about Devin Nunes and what could be to come on unmasking. Take a listen to Sarah.
This is huge because Devin Nunes had the ability and has had the ability right now to look at all of what they call the 302s. That's the FBI interviews with witnesses. So what he has seen has raised such alarm bells. It's raised such alarm bells that he has seen an extensive abuse of these FISA warrants. You can't just unmask Americans. You can look at the conversation possibly if it's a foreigner, but you can't just say, hey, I want to unmask this person for no reason. And I think what he's seen is extensive abuse. I expect we're going to find out a lot, and I'm concerned.
I mean, America, if you're like me, I can barely keep my scandals straight at this point.
Right.
You know,
yeah, there's a lot.
Even within the Iranian one, and then you've got Nunes, the FISA courts, and it's going to be very interesting to watch the facts come out as things that we've been asking for a long time are finally revealed.
Yeah, and Devin Nunes has really been a hero on this. I mean, they tried to, make him look bad. They put him up, said he violated ethics. He got cleared from that, and he has been dogged on bringing this forward, and so we should be getting some stuff next week.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we will leave it there because there's somebody who's a lot more interesting to hear from than the three of us. Yeah, coming up.
That is real news. All right, we just told you how President Trump says a Daca deal with Democrats is probably dead. We're going to ask Deputy White House Press Secretary Raj Shah about that next.
Plus, President Trump coming under fire for his comments. We'll wait until you hear what Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau just said.
Oh, Justin from Canada. Weeks ago, President Trump stating that a deal with Democrats may not happen. In a tweet, he wrote this just a few minutes ago. He said, DACA is probably dead because the Democrats don't really want it. They just want to talk and take desperately needed money away from our military. And a few other tweets after that as well.
Yeah, a couple coming. Raj Shah, Deputy White House Press Secretary, he joins us now to weigh in. Raj, the teleprompter demoted you. Principal Deputy White House Press Secretary, we're happy to have you, sir. Thank you, and good morning. Are we to read into this tweet that the president does not feel like he has honest partners in the Democrats?
Well, first of all, thanks a lot for having me on this morning. I think what you should read into this tweet is that the events of the last, 48 to 72 hours really don't inspire us about the things we need to do to get to a good deal. I think earlier in the week, you had the president host both Democrats and Republicans at the White House. They had a great discussion. They came together on 4 pieces that they wanted to look at for further legislation. That was DACA. That was also border security and the wall. That was ending the visa lottery system, and it was ending chain migration. And now Democrats appear to be moving the goalposts. You don't have a meeting in the Oval Office and then leak the contents of that meeting if you're serious about cutting a deal. Well, and so the events recently really don't inspire us.
Well, Raj, I mean, and now we've seen in the Hill a characterization from a Dick Durbin aide that they felt like they were ambushed, Dick Durbin and Lindsey Graham, by, hardliner folks on immigration. Here's the quote right here. It says, Graham and Durbin expected to have a meeting. They show up, and there's this anti-immigrant cast of characters there. And that was obviously designed by Stephen Miller to try to kill the deal. So was that meeting about reaching a deal or killing the deal? Because Dick Durbin says that they were trying to kill it.
It was about discussing a potential deal. The president wants to see real border security. He wants to see movement on chain migration and on ending the visa lottery system. Those things have to be components of any kind of serious deal. Otherwise, you're going to have a situation where years from now, not very many years, maybe 3 or 4 years from now, you're going to have another several 100,000 illegal immigrants coming to the United States, and we need to be offering them more protections. That's not a scenario that we want or that the president wants to negotiate. We've got to end chain migration and have real border security for any kind of deal to take place.
Raj, Senator Durbin, Senator Lindsey Graham, these are self-appointed. This is a self-appointed group of senators coming together for this to solve this problem. Could the president just appoint a different group of congressmen and senators who he thinks are fair brokers?
Well, I think that there was a big room filling the cabinet room earlier last week. All of those individuals have some skin in the game, have been involved in various levels of negotiations. We want anybody in that room to continue talking. But what we want to see is a deal that really makes progress on these fronts. We need a border wall on the southern border. We need several hundred miles of new fencing and physical barriers. We need thousands of new agents. We need removal authority at the southern border.
Where are we on that, Raj? Is it go back to the drawing board for Dick Durbin and Lindsey Graham? Is it a different group? Give us a sense.
Well, I think that there's a number of ongoing conversations that are going to continue, and I think that there are other folks that were in these ongoing negotiations. They're going to come up with other proposals. Again, we have about a month and a half until the Daca program begins its orderly wind down, but we don't want to see that happen. And so we want to see people of good faith to have private conversations. We don't want them spilling into the public view immediately, and we want to see if they can cut a deal that, again, makes real progress on ending illegal immigration, so we're not back here a few years from now.
Nancy Pelosi brought up the idea, you can call it an idea, you can call it a threat, depending on how you look at it in Washington, that there will be no more continuing resolutions. The Democrats are going to create the inflection point on January 19th, this week. Either you make a deal on DACA or they're going to effectively shut the government down and not vote for any more short-term funding fixes. What is the White House's plan if Democrats decide to call that play?
Well, that would be very unfortunate to try to shut down the government and when you're trying to put outside pieces of legislation into a funding bill.
Raj, I get that it would be unfortunate, but people do it all the time. What's the White House's game plan?
Well, our plan is to oppose it and go to the American people and say the Democrats need to work with us to fund our national security, to fund our intelligence systems, to make sure that our military is prepared in case of any kind of emergency. I think going to the American people and making the case that Democrats are being very irresponsible, that they're shutting down the government, that they're doing the kinds of things that they pledged not to do only a few years ago will be effective.
All right, Raj, thank you very much. We saw sort of a preview of that exact same talking point in the president's tweet, that game plan from the White House. Raj, thanks a lot. Appreciate you getting up on a Sunday.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks for having me on.
Thank you. All right. Well, speaking of immigration, 4 companies are in the running to build President Trump's border wall. We'll talk to one CEO about what sets his wall apart from the rest.
Plus, 3 Democrats say they will skip the president's State of the Union address. Do they really think boycotting is good for the country? Diamond and Sil here with a message to them.
Well, thanks for waking up with us this Sunday morning. Some quick headlines to get you caught up. America is now accused of meddling in Russia's presidential election. Follow the logic. The country's foreign deputy minister saying the U.S., which is planning to place sanctions on Russia, is an attempt to interfere with their presidential vote. Those sanctions are meant to punish Russia for allegedly meddling in our 2016 election. And Putin's Canadian counterpart, Justin Trudeau, is taking aim at pro-lifers.
Proving rights to abortion is not in line with where we are as a government and, quite frankly, where we are as a society.
Trudeau, or Justin from Canada as the president calls him, referring to new rules creating summer jobs for students in exchange for cuts, including to some abortion programs. And now to Pete from Minnesota.
Thank you very much. Or Southern Canada, as some call it. All right, the border wall remains a top priority for the Trump administration. And right now, 4 companies are in the running to build that wall. One of them is Fisher Sand and Gravel. So what sets their wall apart from others? Tommy Fisher is the president and CEO, and he joins us now. Tommy, thanks for being here and accepting our invitation. We're inviting everyone involved in this process to come on as well. But when did you first get interested in this particular project, and what sets your wall apart?
Well, thanks for having me today, Pete. And as a North Dakotan to a fellow Minnesotan, when I first heard President Trump talk about a bold initiative of building 1,950 miles of continuous wall, we got excited. And so with our vertical integration, we've been working on our patent pending system to produce a solid concrete wall, 32 foot high by 2.5 feet thick, and provide a complete border protection system by incorporating 2 high-speed roads for the agents to do their job effectively and efficiently.
Okay, so we've got pictures of the prototype that you have here up. So it's elevated on the U.S. side. It's got some going underground. It's over 30 feet. But again, differentiate it from your competitors. Why would this one be the best?
Oh, we're building a wall, not a fence. Here's the main thing is with our system, our wall functions 3 different ways. It can be used in the Rio Grande Valley as a levee wall that you'd see right there, but the road would be a little wider and there'd be no road on the bottom because it would protect from floods. This system that you're seeing is the second part of the system, which is a retained version of the wall, which officers on the north side of the wall have 360-degree views, and officers on the south side of the wall would have one view into Mexico to observe. And then we also have the most cost-effective form is 2 at-grade roads, which provide 3 levels of defense, so your officers or your Border Patrol agents on the south side can look into Mexico. Then they would have to face a wall if someone wanted to breach or try to come across. And then you still have the officers on the north side that cannot be detected, and that's really a level of defense that the other people that may want to come over probably will be deterred because they never know where the border agents are. And our wall will not be breached and will not be climbed.
Tom,
so it's a big difference.
You emphasize it's not a fence, it's a wall. And looking at those pictures, it certainly is. Now, some detractors will say, A, we don't need a wall, you can just have a fence. Or B, a wall is not, it's not feasible along the border in some places, a lot of places.
Oh, not only do we need it, I believe it is feasible. And with our patent pending system, we can construct it affordably. That's what really separates us from anyone else, is you can backfill, you can use the same system to protect for future floods. It'll change the way concrete is produced in the future, not only for border protection, but also levee protection up and down the coastlines anywhere in the United States.
How about budget and time? Those are important variables for the president.
Those are huge right now. We have a proposal on DHS's desk right now that proposes the same 700 miles that they have out in the request for 10 years. We're at 5 years. We're at $10.77 billion to build our complete system with high-speed roads versus their $19 billion budget. And if they had $19 billion, we believe we could construct about 1,150 miles. The big difference that we also provide for the government, Pete, is if we provide infrastructure for these border agents and they can move 5 times as fast and cover 5 times as much ground, think if we don't have to hire additional agents, we make the agents with better infrastructure more valuable to cover every square inch. And the other difference is we build our proposal through the mountains and over any creek beds or whatever, giving 100% coverage to every linear mile. And the last time I checked, I've never seen a drone or anybody else apprehending someone. Our border agents need to protect the American public, and that's what we're here to do, and we have the proactive approach.
I think those words and that approach would be music to the ears of people who do believe a physical wall is important across the entire border. Tommy Fisher, president and CEO of Fisher Sand and Gravel. I hear the president's going to be visiting those prototypes very soon. Good luck, and we appreciate you coming on the program.
Well, thanks for having me. We look forward to showing what we have.
You got it. Thank you, sir. All right. Well, coming up, the images are insane. Look at that. How did this passenger jet end up dangling from a cliff? Thankfully, not in America. Plus, former President Obama taking aim at Fox News and you, our viewers. Diamond and Silk say he needs to get back down to earth. I think they may have a few things to tell him about from Planet Fox News.
The words and his action tend to speak like one who knows something about being a racist. It must be in his DNA. I do not plan to attend the State of the Union.
I don't trust him, I don't appreciate him, and I wouldn't waste my time sitting in that house listening to what he has to say.
Okay, there is that. And so that is 2 members of the House of Representatives to wake you up on Sunday morning telling you they are not going to the President's State of the Union. And add that now, number 3, Earl Blumenauer from the state of Oregon says that it's just not worth his time, really, evidently, to hear what the President has to say.
I'll tell you what is worth our time. It is always a good day on Fox and Friends when we have Diamond and Silk. Welcome to Fox and Friends.
Rachel's been looking forward to this all morning.
I've been waiting for you from the beginning of the show. I love you, ladies. So what do you make of all that?
Okay, so I want to say this to those 3 lawmakers. You know, Trump is not a racist. He's a realist. And the only color he sees is green, and he wants you to have some of it.
That's right.
And what I don't understand about these lawmakers is why are they pushing this narrative? You know, there's an old saying, what you think you see in others is what's in you.
That's right.
Maybe they need to get the racism out of their own hearts towards this president so that we can move this country forward.
That's right.
I want black people to also look at these 2 lawmakers that's black. Name one piece of legislation that they pushed within the last year to help inner and urban cities, to help benefit black communities. None. Our eyes are open. People need to wake up. These are the people that we need to vote out.
And the sad thing is
the same black people that's talking about racism this and racism that, black people are racist towards their own race. Just look at the derogatory names that they call Diamond and Silk, Coons and Uncle Tom. And we have proof. This is not alleged. You can go to Diamond and Silk Wall of Shame and see all of the derogatory and racist remarks that black people make against us, to black women. So before you start saying something about the white man being racist, check your own self. Take a look in the mirror and look at your own black race being racist towards each other.
Well, if you look at, it's a great point. If you look at black unemployment at an all-time low right now, would there ever come a point where members of the Congressional Black Caucus or other black leaders would recognize that and say, maybe something's working and we should do more of that?
Well, see, they don't want to recognize it because they're part of the problem. These groups are part of the problem and keep black people suppressed. That's why I always say out loud, listen, go past these groups. Take your message directly to the people and forget about these groups and organizations that's working for their own greed and not the need of the people.
Yes, that is some of the best.
They're doing is segregating themselves. They're segregating themselves from the process of moving this country forward, and they're keeping people stuck in the pains of their ancestors. It's time for black people to wake up and let's press forward and stop staying stuck in the past.
Well, that's some of the best communications advice that the White House could get. Skip the groups that purport to speak for minorities. Go right to the people. Great.
Yeah, that's right. Let's take it to the people.
Let's move on to Obama. Now, he says that Fox viewers are living on a different planet. Listen to this.
We are operating in completely different information universes. If you watch Fox News, you are living on a different planet than you are if you, listen to NPR.
Well, guys, do you want to live on Barack Obama's planet or planet NPR instead?
Well, listen, it sounds like Barack Obama is living on a planet in La La Land.
That's right.
You know, he's the one still running around as acting as though he's the president. He's not. He's the one that ran on change, and everybody know we all got shortchanged. And not only that, he made out $40 million richer.
That's right.
You know, maybe he's on the same planet with Hillary Clinton with what happened. Well, here's what happened. Trump became president. Trump brought back jobs where people don't have to be given an Obama phone. We can buy our own phone with minutes. That's what happened. Obama.
That's right.
Wow.
Wow.
Well said.
We're speechless.
It takes a lot. It takes a lot. But I'm glad you all were up early with us, and you definitely had your coffee this morning.
Yeah, on diamondandsilk.com, we can learn about the Chit Chat tour. What's that?
Yes, the Chit Chat tour is coming to a city near you. Check it out, diamondandsilk.com. We're going to be in Florida and Texas and more to come. And we're just, listen, grassroots work is what we're doing.
Yes, exactly.
Grassroots work. Taking our message to the people.
You guys are
especially since Mark Zuckerberg from Facebook is censoring conservative voices, we have to take the message to the street.
Well, that's a theme. You know, we had Prager University, Dennis Prager on earlier. His videos are being censored. Your videos are being censored. When are people going to wake up to the reality that these big media companies are trying to squash the people as well?
Absolutely, and it's time for someone to step in. So we have to take our message directly to the people. We're doing grassroots work, and we want to see their faces in the place. diamondandsilk.com. Click on Chit Chat Tour to get your ticket.
Wow, absolutely. People should go check out your tour. You guys are not just great messengers. You are entrepreneurs.
And great Americans.
That was great, ladies.
Great Americans.
Thanks a lot. We appreciate your time this morning.
All right. Thank you. Bye, Diamond. Bye, Silk. Now, to your headlines. Incredible video capturing the aftermath of a Boeing 737 skidding off a runway overnight. Take a look as the frantic passengers come to their senses just moments after landing the aircraft, nearly nosediving into the Black Sea, coming to a rest on the edge of a cliff in northern Turkey. Now, none of the 162 passengers on board were injured. Investigators are looking into what caused the incident. Death threats, name-calling, and criticism. That's what this Cornell student, Nita Chandak, says she received after appearing on Fox and Friends arguing a Cornell course was overly critical of President Trump. Listen to this.
Goes to show, reading the syllabus, that the professor is really not interested in having a fair conversation.
She joined us again just a couple of hours ago, saying it has been freeing to come on the show, spreading her powerful message.
make sure that conservatives around America know that if they stand up for themselves, they stand up to bullies, then we absolutely can win.
Chandek says Cornell's president never reached out to her over the alleged harassment. Sad. Heroic firefighters making the catch of a lifetime. Dramatic video showing a frantic parent dropping her baby from the 3rd floor of a burning building, then thrown again into the arms of a firefighter on the ground.
I get about halfway up and somebody drops the baby to me.
Did they give you warning that they were going to drop a baby?
No. I think they thought I was expecting it.
Wow. The baby was just one out of a dozen people rescued by these brave Georgia firefighters. The father of 8, who was the last to be rescued, suffered 2nd-degree burns. And those are your headlines.
Oh, amazing.
Wow.
Incredible.
Rick?
Rick, you would catch a baby if it was thrown to you as well.
Yeah, of course, but I'm just thinking, imagine the fear of the parent dropping that baby, that moment, thinking, you know, what's going to happen there. Faith everywhere. It's wonderful. All right, so it's cold out here, but it was really warm this week. Because it had been so cold before, a lot of those rivers that had frozen over started to melt, and we get ice jams. Take a look at some of this video. This is video out of Massachusetts. So that ice is now moving and breaking up there as it's going over that little bit of a fall. But what happens is, we show you some other video that we have here. One of the video that we have out of New York shows once that ice, I guess we don't have the video. Never mind. I'll tell you about it. Once that ice starts to hit a bridge or go around a bend, that ice gets stuck, and then everything back behind it floods. So we're seeing a lot of flooding going on across a lot of cities around the Northeast. And now the cold air is back in place. You can see it's really cold, obviously 13 in Cleveland, 7 in Chicago, 0 in Minneapolis. The cold air solidly in place. The wind also today is going to be really strong, especially across parts of the Central Plains. But look at that, 37 degrees all the way down towards Tampa. So it's very chilly out there. One system diving down here across parts of the mid-Mississippi River Valley this morning, and you see that next one that's coming out of Canada. Behind that, we have another push of cold air that's going to be coming on in, and out across the west, things are very dry. You see that storm track going way over across parts of the west. We do see moisture come back here into California, maybe into Southern California again by the time we get towards the next weekend. That moisture, not as bad, it doesn't look like, as what we saw last week. We'll tell you this, we start to, after we have this one last bit of cold here, take a look at that. Wednesday, Thursday, temps almost for everybody, guys. Get a lot better, fortunately.
Rick, you make weather look easy, man.
I try.
Especially even with
I've been doing it a long time.
There's a clicker and there's a thing.
I've been doing it a long time.
Well done. Good to see you, Rick.
Yeah, you too.
All right, coming up, forget Joe Biden, Elizabeth Warren, Kamala Harris, J.P. Morgan Chase CEO Jamie Dimon says Democrats don't have a strong candidate for 2020.
The thing about the Democrats is, you know, they will not have a chance, in my opinion.
Colorado Governor John Hickenlooper's name has been floated as a